Jai Shri Srimad Govinda Swami Gurudev Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jai Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jai Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jamuna Maya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulasi Maharani Ki, Shri Shri Gauranikai Ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Lady Subhadra Devis Ki, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ki, Shri Shri Radha Gopal Ji Ki, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Transcendental Prashadam Distribution Ki, Gaura Pramananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada Srila Govinda Swami Srila Gurudev Ki. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Did you have a nice transcendental workout? Body, mind, soul, everything being Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Really? Can it be a little less sound? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
What do you think? What is everybody here? Continue? You're putting it all back onto me. Okay. What was our slogan of this part of the festival? Pure devotional service transcends geopolitical prejudices. Isn't that nice? We just came up with one sentence that like encapsulates like everything. Because everything in material bodily consciousness is political, local, national. It's all political. One perspective or the other, poles, right? Political. Two parties, other parties fighting with each other. So quarreling, hypocrisy, big false egos, big unlimited desires of manipulation, exploitation of the people. This puts everybody in trouble. So many times Prabhupada, when he came to America, he's telling that everybody wants to be happy, but you don't know how to be happy. You have all money, materialism, sense gratification, and you're all miserable. So obviously there must be something else, because you've tried everything to the max degree, and still you're not happy. You're in more anxiety, you're more disappointed, you're more frustrated, you're more disturbed just by more and more material sense gratification, materialistic way of life. So obviously that's not working. And the many famous people, billionaires, millionaires, they're at the pinnacle of success in the material world, and they're not happy. So then what do you do? Because Prabhupada explained, everyone by their nature, they want to be happy. Nobody by their nature wants to be miserable. Everyone wants to get rid of the misery and the suffering and the anxiety. By nature, everybody wants to be peaceful and happy. Because that's the very nature of the soul. But Prabhupada's message was, you want to be happy, everybody wants to be happy, but you don't know how to be happy. And it says that verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that he is the supreme enjoyer, one who knows that I'm the supreme enjoyer, and I'm the supreme proprietor, and I'm the supreme protector, and I am the supreme well-wishing friend of all the living entities. If you can realize that, not in philosophical, not in theoretical way, but in the real way, then Krishna says, then you can become peaceful, then you can become happy. And ultimately, if we take Krishna's position as Bhagavan, as Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's not just, okay, I just theoretically understand that. If we really understand that, then we'll just surrender to Krishna. And Krishna says, by all the Vedas, all the Vedic knowledge, I am to be known. So if we really cultivated our faith and our realization, understanding about spiritual life, about God, about Krishna, it can only lead to one last thing, is that the living entity agrees to cooperate with God and not compete with God, and then take the humble position and admit, yes, I'm servant of God. So everybody is servants, even Srimati Radharani, Balaram, all eternal residents, everybody says, all the demigods, everybody says that we are Das, I'm Das. There's a Prakriti, Purushottam, Krishna, supreme enjoyer, everyone else is Prakriti, means that everyone else is meant to be enjoyed. So our eternal position is servant, eternal servant of God, eternal servant of Krishna. So knowing Krishna means we also understand who are we. And understanding who are we is also not theoretical. It means that we agree to surrender to Krishna and take up our actual constitutional position as servant. And Prabhupada said that sometimes he would say that the spiritual disease is anxiety. So everybody's in anxiety. But this is a symptom of the disease. And we discussed about last night that if you're in a bodily consciousness, under the three modes of material nature, you're attached to the body and the mind. Prabhupada says conditioned soul, all they know is their body and their mind. It's all selfish and extended selfishness, I, me, mine, body, bodily relations. That consciousness under the modes of material nature, especially in Kali Yuga, which means Tamagun primarily, and Rajagun, then the reward for that consciousness is threefold miseries. So all this anxiety, all of this depression, all of this disappointment, all of this brokenheartedness of relationships, all disappointment in the, then you will become peaceful, and you will become peaceful, and you will become happy, and you will become satisfied. But the opposite thing happens. So intelligent persons along the way, they'll say, okay, that doesn't really work. Trying to satisfy the senses is like putting gasoline on the fire to put it out. So you have this fire, you put gasoline, you throw it on the fire, it looks like the fire goes out temporarily, and then what comes back, it becomes even stronger. So just putting more and more material sense gratification to fulfill these itches and these instincts and these, desires for sense gratification, it doesn't solve the problem. It actually just increases the problem. And so as we're going through that material experience, intelligent person, Krishna says, they'll start to realize that this material sense gratification, pleasure on bodily platform, it has a little bit of pleasure, but it has unlimited suffering and anxiety as a result. So if the pleasure is so fleeting and it just comes and it goes, and then the result is unlimited suffering and anxiety, intelligent person will start to figure out that this is not worth it, because so high price for such temporary little bit of happiness. And it says whatever happiness you experience, that will be the cause of your future suffering condition. So every time you're trying to enjoy, just know that's going to be the cause of your future suffering condition. So this, karma, the sin, sinful reaction, action, reaction, the conscious living entity, human being, will start to be able to do the math and start to understand that it just flat out doesn't ultimately work. And the amount that you have to pay and the reaction you have to take for the fleeting nature of a little bit of pleasure, it's just not worth it. And then in the process, you're getting exhausted, you're getting frustrated, you're developing anger and lust and greed and all the demoniac qualities, degrading consciousness, degrading qualities, degrading behavior. Deva, is this our philosophy? Are we explaining it pretty well? And of course, Maya doesn't give us all of that information. She just said that you're going to be happy, you're going to be blissful, you just need more money, you just need more opportunity, you just need to work harder, and eventually you'll be able to enjoy. And so this is the scam, this is the lie of materialism. And after trying to pursue that from the childhood, just go to school, get a good education, do good in all of your marks, right? Score as high as possible, get into the best college, university that you can find, right? Try to get a nice degree in some nonsensical subject matter. Go in debt for $500,000 or $1 million. Put your whole family into debt so that you will perpetually have to pay them back. Then you get a job, you show up for the job. In India, devotees were telling you there's 10,000 people for one job. So you're going, one engineer, he's got some, engineering degree, going in there, and there's like 10,000 other people trying to get the one job. And basically you have to say, okay, you can sacrifice my first son, you have to sell your soul, right? You have to bow down at the master of industrial, commercial dictatorship, agree to be manipulated, exploited, indoctrinated, so you become a robot for that company. And then you work 60, 80 hours a week, right? Get some money. So this is this material life, materialism. And at the same time, some little sense gratification in between working like an ass, and you get a little bit of pleasure and unlimited burden, responsibility, and anxiety. And it's designed that way, and Krishna says it's a temporary, miserable place. That's the way that I've created it. And how I'm making it miserable for you is I'm putting all of these miseries, these threefold miseries onto you. I'm just going to mix that in while you're trying to enjoy. And so everyone's being bombarded by threefold miseries, and we're just like, I don't feel that. I'm not sensing that. So you can try to make all the mental adjustments you want. You can try to make all the geographical adjustments you want, psychological adjustments you want. Nobody can avoid threefold miseries. And when the symptoms and the miseries, you begin to understand what is the price, then you can start saying, okay, how do I get out of this? Right? When the heart is piercing by getting the reactions of the threefold miseries, and the mind and senses are never peaceful, happy, or satisfied, intelligent person will say, okay, I got the point. There's nothing else I can do that's going to change it. Looks like it's designed that way. And at some point, we'll want to check out of that. How do you just get free out of that? Now, you're ready for Bhagavad Gita. Now you're ready, like Arjuna, to surrender to Krishna and say, okay, I got the point. I can't figure it out. I can't solve it. I have no means to drive away all of this hankering and lamentation. I can't drive away or get free from all of these reactions of threefold miseries. Therefore, there's no peace, no happiness, no satisfaction. And why is this always being discussed? Because Maya doesn't allow us to try to understand all of this point. Maya is trying to dull our intelligence and our consciousness, our perception, our feelings, our emotions, dumbing us down as much as possible so that we cannot understand the reality of the situation. If we don't understand the reality of the situation, why Krishna has made it this way. My Gurudev used to say, if Krishna wanted this place to be blissful and happy and permanent, he would have made it that way. So he didn't make it that way. This is prison house. And why this is always emphasized is because if we don't realize what is the reality and purpose of this place, and we don't realize the effects or the results of these different types of miseries or reactions, then we'll not look for solution. We'll not look for a way out of that matrix, action, reaction, karmic reaction, sinful activity, sinful reaction. Every action is an equal opposite reaction. It's karma bandhana, bound, forced to act, forced to have reaction to hit you. So you're being forced to act, and then you're being forced to accept the reaction. So intelligent means, okay, can I somehow get control of my mind, my senses? So then people say, okay, let me discipline myself. Let me try to control my mind and my senses, my instincts, my desires, because they understand that's the root of the problem. And even if you don't understand it's the root of the problem, still you cannot stop it. That's why Arjuna asked, was it the question? What is it that's causing the man to act, even though he has to suffer so much, even he knows that, but still he cannot stop from acting. So why by force are we acting in a way which we know is going to be the root cause of our suffering condition? And Krishna says it's lust only, Arjuna. Lust is all-devouring, sinful enemy of man. This is a heart disease. So it says everyone from Lord Brahma down to Indra Gopa, down to the smallest insect, everyone is inflicted more or less with this instinct and this desire to enjoy in a lustful way. So lust is a heart disease. Prabhupada explained all the trucks, all the trains, all the planes, everything that's running that you see, it's all going for sex life. Ultimately, everyone wants to enjoy, they want to impress, they want prestige, they want material sense gratification. To the nth degree is all based on this sex desire. So this is the heart disease, and everyone is inflicted by that. And that's the root cause where one is forced to act, even though they know you're going to get a little bit of pleasure and you're going to pay a heavy price for that. Unlimited anxiety, disturbance, dissatisfaction. So intelligent person will realize it's temporary. Prabhupada says it's like an itch, you're just scratching the itch to try to get it to go away. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire to try to put it out. It only inflames it even worse. The desire becomes even stronger. So this is a vicious cycle that you cannot get free from, even if you understand what's happening. And really, Krishna, he is controller of the mind and the senses, the body, the mind, the senses, the soul. Krishna is Rishikesh, master of his energies. That body, that mind, those are Krishna's energies. Unless one surrenders to Krishna. Krishna says, if you surrender to me, then I'll free you from your sinful reaction and ultimately free you from your sinful desire to even want to act. Otherwise, nobody can get free from karma. No one can get free from this gross or subtle sex life or material sense gratification or the reaction of the punishment of pursuing this type of activities. So it really ultimately requires everyone to surrender to Krishna. And so the heavy punishment, reactions, miseries, all of this thing is just help us to understand when you want to forget about Krishna and you want to forget that you're a servant of Krishna, and when you want to try to enjoy and compete with Krishna as supreme enjoyer and proprietor and well-wishing friend of all the living entities, then you'll be as competitor to Krishna. You're not assuming, you're not accepting our role, our constitutional position as a servant. So as long as we are acting independently, competing, not agreeing, not cooperating, to act according to the very purpose for why we were created, then there will be punishment. There will be a reaction. And it will be only increase unlimitedly until we finally get the point. Of course, there is some small category of people who just are eternally condemned. Because there has to be something of everything. Right? Otherwise it would be incomplete. But ultimately, that's not the goal. It's just to show that it is possible to be that stupid and that demoniac, and that no matter how heavy reaction or punishment you're getting, you're saying that suffering is my pleasure. Suffering is the new pleasure. Just change the definition, psychological adjustment, right? So that's what's really going on here, folks. And until we realize that, until we realize practically, honestly, by our own experience, we're not going to surrender to Krishna. So it's just a matter of time and how many lives will go by And Prabhupada explained you're risking human form of life. There's no guarantee that you're going to get another human form. So even that is risky. So if you commit suicide with your human body, you become a ghost. You lose a body. If you don't use the human form of life to purify, elevate your consciousness, to ultimately get liberated and then surrender to God, that's the purpose of the human form of life. Not just to get money and sense gratification, enjoy as much as you can, and try to maintain your sanity and your prestige. Because if you lose your sanity, your prestige goes down. And people just say, he's a crazy guy. Right? So you got to appear like you're sane, then you get the respect of your prestige. And then you say, okay, that's the purpose of the human form of life. Just get some prestige and hold on to it to the bloody end, literally the bloody end. And then everyone, deathbed, horizontal, old age, disease, death. So what prestige do you have? You died like every other species in the material world. Prabhupada calls it, you died like a cat and a dog. So if you don't elevate your consciousness and you don't determine your next life by using the human form of life, then you're just wasting it and squandering it. And therefore you're risking that Krishna says, I gave you a human form of life, and this is how you're using it, misusing it. So there's no guarantee you get another human life. So we understand what is the reality of the situation, because Prabhupada said if you don't realize the problem, it's a problem. Uncontrolled mind and senses is a problem, in case you didn't realize that yet. Then you're not going to look for solution. So the description always of the solution, pure, loving, devotional service, everyone's eternal loving servant of God, that's defined. And then if you don't accept that, and you want to challenge that, and you want to forget about all of that, and you want to try to enjoy separate from that, then Krishna says, then I'll make you forget. And therefore, you don't want to remember, then I'll make you forget means all you know is your body and your mind. You don't know anything about your soul. You don't know anything about God. You don't know what is real dharma, what is real responsibility, and then acting like mad people, insane, chasing after material sense gratification in animalistic consciousness. And then it says, like a chain wrapped around the neck, you're being dragged by Maya, you're being forced to commit sinful activities. You have no say in the matter, and then you have to suffer the reaction of the sinful activity. So being forced to commit sinful activity, being forced to accept the sinful reaction for that activity, you know it's not good and you can't stop it. That means you're being forced. So an intelligent person will be like, how do I get out of this situation? Hello? Like nothing else is working. We've tried every other thing, and still, uncontrolled mind and senses, can't give up sinful desires, activity. We're being dragged and forced to commit all of this sinful activities, then we're being punished and getting heavy reactions, heavy lashes, higher levels of threefold miseries, and still we're not surrendering. Still, we're so arrogant, so rebellious, so ignorant.
still challenging God. Prabhupada said you cannot challenge God and know Him at the same time. So we need to be humbled out and purified by threefold miseries, by impending old age, disease, and death. When the future doesn't look so bright, and you see no real way out of it, and you cannot cheat Krishna, you cannot cheat the system, so there's no way to cheat it. There's no way to short-circuit it. Mother Nature is very unforgiving in one sense. Strict laws of material nature means it's designed that way. So that's the reality of the situation. And all of that is because of forgetfulness of who we are, forgetfulness of who is God, forgetfulness of what is our duty or responsibility in relationship to God, in relationship to Krishna, and then not agreeing, not cooperating. Prabhupada said you could be Krishna conscious in one moment if you would just cooperate. But because we're listening to the stupid mind, because of weakness of the heart, material desire, material attachment, then we're not listening. And Krishna says, because you're not listening, touch Chinu, Krishna says to Arjuna, listen to me. I'll tell you everything, how to get out of this trouble. But if you refuse to listen to me, and you can't listen to me, because you're disqualified, because of your false ego, all of this disqualification, not able to listen, all of this bad qualities, arrogance, pride, demoniac quality, these sinful reactions, it's all based on ignorance. So because of so much sinful reaction, so much false ego, then Krishna said, now you cannot hear me because you don't want to hear me. Now you can hear me. Then you're lost. Then you're forced to suffer. So Krishna is canvassing us, and Krishna's devotees are canvassing, the Shastras, everything is there to try to convince us, to purify us, to give us a solution, how to solve all of these problems. But we say, I don't have a problem. I don't need to be saved. I'm managing just all right. I can handle it. And Prabhupada laughing, he said, Arjuna, he admitted his defeat. Such a powerful, pious, ethical, moral, strong personality, human being. He's admitting, I tried to control my mind and my senses. It's like, what is it? Trying to stop the wind or the cyclone with your hand. So it's not like, okay, I'm trying to, it's some little disturbance of the mind and senses. No, it's a cyclone which cannot possibly be stopped by your hand. But still we're thinking, okay, somehow I'll get a handle on it. I'll manage it. So when you realize there is no managing it, there's no getting a handle on it, there's no controlling it, you're being forced to think, to desire, to act, and to react, then one will surrender to Krishna. Now it's just a matter of time and how many more lives or how many more species and lives before we finally get the point. So Maya is making this big plan, how you're going to enjoy and all the material things and the position and the house and the apartment and the car and the wife and the husband and the children, the bank balance and the job. and the prestige. This is how you're going to enjoy. And it's all free. It's like this ultimate, like this marketing, just call now and it's free. Right? Business, what does it mean? For you, my dear sir, we make no profit. Right? So it's legalized lying and cheating, isn't it? For you, my dear sir, special deal today. Everything is free. But you got to act right now. Nothing's free. Everything has a price. Everything has a reaction. And that is the reaction, the price. Are you ready to pay it? Is it worth it? Then we start to figure it out. This is an endless loop that you cannot win. And the reaction, the punishment gets worse the longer it goes. Until we get the point. Until we surrender. So Krishna says all this Vedic civilization, Daivivanashram, Sanatan Dharma, all of that is how to act like a civilized human being engaged in pious and spiritual activities to the point that you give up this Kaitava Dharma, selfishness, and do Sanatan Dharma. This whole thing, everything that we're seeing, everything we're experiencing, everything that we're going through is just to teach us this one thing. The very reason for the process, for the system. And then it's just a question of when will we be convinced? What will it take for us to be convinced? Prabhupada said if you're smart, if you're intelligent, you'll learn by hearing. But because we're not so intelligent, we're not listening, we're lost because of false ego, then we have to be punished. Heavy lashes, heavy reactions. And still, we're so callous, so ignorant, it's not so bad. I'm doing pretty good. I still have faith and hope that I can figure it out and manage my life. I don't have to admit any defeat. These people are just not strong enough. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to manage properly. Okay, we made some mistakes in our life, but we learned from that. So now we're not going to make those same mistakes again. And of course, Maya just comes dressed up in a different costume. And we get sucked into making the same mistakes again and again. And it's always lust, uncontrolled mind and senses. We're falling for it, endlessly attracted, attached, bound up, tie the knots, then trapped, action, reaction, sinful activity, sinful reaction. So it's a deep, dark well of material existence where one is forced to go through the cycle until somehow the living entity gets enough experience, intelligence, realization to ask themselves, why am I suffering? Why are these threefold miseries coming upon me? Why am I forced to suffer? Nobody wants to suffer. So why is it being forced upon me? And if we realize this is untenable, it's just an unacceptable situation, then we'll think, okay, how do I get out of the suffering, anxiety, depression, such a hellish existence? Then they start asking questions, okay, how do you solve it? And now it's a question of going through different processes to solve the problems. And of course, without surrender to Krishna, they all ultimately are incomplete or fail. And it has to be that way. Otherwise, you'll be stuck on that platform or that so-called solution. So as long as there's old age, disease, and death, that means your so-called solutions are not the real solution. So Prabhupada said, when you get freed from this old age, disease, and death, birth, death, disease, and old age, then you found solution. Krishna says, you surrender to me, you come to me, you understand me, how and where I'm manifesting, you understand my activities, my purpose. Then when you leave this body, you come back to me. And when you come back to me, you never have to take another material birth. No more birth, death, disease, and old age. That's the ultimate solution. Only solution. Everything short of that is just some temporary, incomplete, so-called solution, but still you end up taking another material birth, old age, disease, and death. Even you go to Brahman, even you merge into impersonal Brahman, still it's not a permanent place. Therefore, even from that position, you have to fall. And of course, from all the heavenly planets, Brahmaloka, Tapaloka, all the high planets, even definitely you have to fall also. So none of those positions, none of those processes, all this type of a dharma, not giving you ultimate solution to the ultimate problems in life. And Prabhupada said the real problem, the root of the problem, old age, disease, and death. So this is the solution to get free from that and to get eternal spiritual body, so you don't have to take another birth in another womb, in another mother, in another material family, material planet, but one is inflicted by this karma bandhana. So it's very simple. But why we're not good? Because attached to the body, attached to bodily relations, material desire, material attachment, this is the root of the problem. Because all we know is the body and our mind, and the body and mind of our family and our friends. We're identifying with the body. So Prabhupada said this bodily identification is the root cause of our spiritual disease. And that, because of that consciousness and those desires and those attachments, one is just caught up in vicious cycle of selfish and extended selfish activity, gross and subtle sense gratification of sinful life, sinful reaction, and then one is just bound again and again, birth, death, disease, and old age, perpetually, because we're not listening, we're not catching the point. So Krishna comes, he's preaching, he brought the knowledge, he spoke Bhagavad Gita, he brought his devotees, he explained perfectly everything very well, according to what we can understand from age to age. And in this age, because everyone is very dull and very impious, with no real qualification, it's complete simplified program. Just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in association with Krishna's devotees and hear about Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, take Krishna Prasadam, Jagannath Prasadam, Try to purify your consciousness. Try to engage in bhakti devotional service. Try to elevate, improve yourself. Prabhupada said, try to improve yourself, your consciousness. Try to become more like gentleman and lady, not like animal, not like demon. First try to become gentleman, Brahmana, real Brahmana, not fake Brahmana. Real Brahmana. Then you become perfect gentleman. Not using your perfect gentleman to exploit everybody for your good qualities, but to become a decent human being. First try to become like that, and then try to understand about transcendental platform, soul platform. That's not easy platform. We're assuming way too much. We're assuming that we've understood and achieved way too much. So we have basically have self-constructed transcendental platforms that we've built under the three modes of material nature. Then we're moving with this so-called fourth dimensional paradigm of a made-up hologram of our mental speculation and sentimentality, and calling it spiritual and transcendental. And it's all just illusion. Theoretical is also illusion. It's not practically realized. You just have a better theoretical, you just have a better illusion, which is closer to the real thing, but it's still an illusion. It's still not realized, but it's closer. So any questions, points so far? Since you didn't have any topic, I'm just bringing that topic. Yeah, I hope you like that topic.
You already answered, but I just want a little more clarification.
Because you can have a great doctor with a great medicine that can really solve a lot. But if nobody thinks they're sick, then it's not gonna work. So then you have to say, okay, what is your definition of being sick? Everyone has a different definition. Yeah.
Like you were mentioning just now about people working like 60, 80 hours a week perpetually.
Like you?
Yeah. So, like in my company, I usually give some, like our employees some freedom, or I want to give them some more flexibility. So, and see if they are interested spiritually, or if they like can devote some time, or want to become devoted, or want to get enough realization so that want to not get caught up into the entire system.
So instead of just a lunch break, you're also giving like a spiritual break.
Something
like that.
Yeah. But then I found usually that it's they are like really not interested. Like they want to really work even more and get caught up into that system rather than.
That's their religion. Right?
Yeah.
They're bought into that religion. Materialism is a religion, it's a cult. Right? They're worshiping, they're sacrificing, they're committing, they're surrendering. But it's just material religion, cult.
And moreover, when we give them some such flexibility, then they consider us that why are we giving them? Like, rather if they work in some other company where they are forced to work like really 80 hours or 70 hours a week.
Then they'll say the reason your company is not successful is you're not working everyone like an ass
Yes.
because they're taking too many spiritual breaks. Right? So then you have this, kind of Asian mentality that you have to just work like an ass and just like kill yourself. Otherwise, you should just commit suicide because you failed. I mean, this is like unbelievable manipulation and brainwashing, which is indoctrinated in the educational system. And then generation after generation, it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter because nobody in the system knows anything different. So their parents, even grandparents, they can't even help themselves because they've been indoctrinated in that system. And of course, we can thank the British American Empire for that because they wanted to civilize all of you Aborigines with their religion, and you guys all bought into it. Not you guys, but maybe you, obviously also you bought into it because you're also part of the same paradigm. So you're also brainwashed. We were also brainwashed. So we just got fed up earlier than you. Then we came to India. I remember telling devotees when I came to India, the only thing I knew about India was Gandhi and his life and his teachings and his, his biography, and Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know anything about India. Just some pictures of poor people on the news, laying on the street, right? Like this, right? That's it. So when I came to India the first time, I literally thought Indian people are like the Bhagavatam. Honest to God. So when I was going from the airport in Calcutta, the first time I landed, I was going in like a culture shock because I had built it up in my mind that Indian culture was Srimad Bhagavatam. This is honest to God, because I was so ignorant. I was so innocent in one sense. Because I had no previous experience, I didn't come to any other conclusion. There was no Indian person lived in my town who never had to interact with any Indian people. So literally the first Indian person I met was Gandhi. And then from Gandhi, I went to Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was my impression of Vedic civilization and Vedic culture. So can you imagine how shocked? In Calcutta, in Kolkata, going from the airport to the temple, I was literally shocked. I wasn't prepared. So wow, from the original culture, civilization, how that civilization and culture was supposed to act, just such a high, perfect standard for the rest of humanity. That's why they have such heavy responsibility on them, because they're supposed to know. When I first went to Bhubaneswar, this was like in early 90s, 1990s, not so far long ago. And then I see these guys standing next to this tree at nighttime. I said, why are all of those guys standing next to the tree? And they say, oh, that's a liquor store is there. And they're waiting for the liquor store to open, like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. So that means that they're like hiding in the corner. They don't want to be seen. The liquor shop is like covered. It's open late at night. Like, because everybody knows this is not good. This is poison. This is, this will degrade you. So they're embarrassed, they're shy. Then I went to the park for a walk, the Japa walk. They had a beautiful, like, botanical gardens. And then I saw like all these couples, and they were sitting behind the trees. And I was saying, why are these couple, boy and girl, like, why are they sitting behind the tree? Like hiding. And they were saying because they're embarrassed. And they don't want to bring shame to their family. So they're hiding themselves. And I'm coming from America. So I'm like, this is unbelievable. So even from the 1990s, still they were understood like this is not great. This is not ideal. And so they felt some shame. But nowadays, Hare Krishna, before somebody doesn't like the subject matter. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So what is the advancement of modern civilization in India from 1990 till now? Now 24/7, liquor shop, open 7 days a week, round the clock, neon signs, happy hour, every hour is happy hour. They used to have like a joke, like you shouldn't drink anything before 5 o'clock p.m. Right? Hare Krishna. So don't drink anything, alcohol, before 5 p.m. We have to have some standard, right? And then it became like a joke. Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So that means that somewhere in the world, it's 5 p.m. So if you want to drink, there's no standard, right? It's 5 p.m. somewhere. So that means no rules, no regulations, no control. It's all degradation, self-sabotage, uncontrolled mind and senses. Nobody can be happy in that condition. So, they didn't come to your company for spirituality. They came for money. So you're trying to help them, but they're not interested in spiritual life, for the most part. And because they like you, and they see your sincerity, so they're just posing like they're doing something spiritual. Because they like you, they want to not disrespect you, and also you're signing their check at the end of the day, week, month, whatever it is, year, who knows? That's like a very irregular payment schedule, which is also part of the program.
They don't want Vaikuntha, they want cold, hard cash. Come closer. How are you today? Are you feeling good? You didn't buzz up your head yet. Oh, you're in the process. He has a military look now. So?
So my question is that actually I don't want to be exactly like how the other companies are doing, but so how do we basically make best use of this bad bargain? Because sometimes some of the employees in one-to-one meeting, they also shared some of the problems of their own life and how they're suffering and so much problem in their family and depression. But when I tell them that, okay, let's start with reading Bhagavad Gita, or sometimes we read together in like few words or something. But when I invite them, okay, you can also come regularly, let's say for Sunday program or something, then they're not really show up or not text.
Because they don't think they have a problem. Or they think they can tolerate their problem, or they can solve their problem without Krishna consciousness. So they're in that process of either justifying it and saying it's all right, it's not so bad, or, okay, there's some problem, but anyway, we're managing it, we're tolerating it, we're making some adjustments. So they're trying to solve it. If they understand they have some problem, they're just trying to solve it by material adjustments. So they're just in that process of materially or so-called spiritually trying to understand the problem and how to solve the problem. And they're just caught up in some material solution or some pseudo-spiritual solution. And they just not realize that it can't work like that. It's not an ultimate solution. So how do you speed that up for them? Right? So all you can just keep saying is all you can do is just practice the solution yourself. Be convinced yourself that there is no other option, there is no other solution, nothing else ultimately will work. And then just keep, propagating and canvassing and explaining that ultimate reality until people catch up to it. So at some point, okay, they're adjusting from material solution. Okay, there's no material solution. There's no material adjustment. Then they come to spiritual. And then what is spiritual? So then they're in the process, karma, jnana, yoga. But still, you're consistently just giving the ultimate solution, the ultimate answer. And then while they're trying to get solution by whatever they're practicing materially or so-called spiritually, you're consistently just saying the real solution. Now they have to weigh the two processes, materially or pseudo-spiritual, with the reality of actual spiritual solution. And at some point, in some life, they'll exhaust all of these adjustments. And if you're just consistent with absolute truth, real solution, ultimate solution, then at some point, when they're meant to be able to hear, then they'll accept the answer. Then they'll accept the real solution. What else can you do? And then there are some people who are ready to hear the solution. So you want to hear the ultimate solution for your own betterment, and for anybody in the crowd who's already understood there's no real other thing that works, that will work, they're ready to hear that solution. So if you just water it down and make it look like some other type of pseudo-spiritual solution, then they'll just still be stuck in that type of misunderstanding. So don't compromise it and bring it down and then mix it into the thing that's already mixed up. Just remain consistent from absolute platform. This is perfect and complete. Everything else is faulty and or incomplete. So you always have to just keep giving them the gauge to measure. Wherever they're at, whatever they're going through, you just have to have a very consistent, absolute, perfect, from Krishna, complete understanding and presentation, and at least you're going to be benefited by that discussion. And then those who are already understanding and coming to understand that there's no other thing that's really going to work, they'll become persuaded by Krishna's canvassing, and that message is meant for them. So it's being offered to everybody, but who can hear it according to their, time, place, circumstance, and candidate? That's the only thing that has to be adjusted. Does it make sense? And then everyone's going to catch up to it eventually, because it's designed ultimately to get everyone caught up, that there's no material or so-called spiritual solution unless you solve the root of the problem. This is going to solve the root of the problem. So don't water it down, don't compromise it, don't make it easy for people. Someone said to Prabhupada in America, why you don't call it International Society for God Consciousness? More people will join. If you just say God consciousness, more people will join, but you're calling Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is God. Krishna is Bhagavan. Why I should water it down? So they're not making any compromise. We want to go back home, back to Godhead, means Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. That's the goal. He's not saying any other incarnation. He's saying Krishna. Krishna says there's no truth superior to me. Everything's emanating from me. Everything is my energies. I'm the controller of all of those energies. I'm the seed-giving father of every living entity. I'm the source of all knowledge and intelligence. I'm the cause of all causes. He's establishing himself as Bhagavan, as real Bhagavan. He's establishing what's the reality. And you are, everyone is eternal servant of God, of Krishna. That's Sanatana Dharma. That's eternal occupation, constitutional position of the soul, of the living entity, is we are eternal servants of Krishna. So who is Krishna? Who is God? Who are we? What is our connection? What is our duty? What is our responsibility? What is our dharma in relationship to Krishna? That is real spiritual religious knowledge. And only God himself, only Krishna himself can explain that. Because the material world is all ignorance, it's all forgetfulness. And we're all disqualified. We're under modes of material nature. We're all covered with big false egos. We're all identifying with the body and the family and the place of your birth. That's all everybody knows here. So Krishna doesn't come and explain what is what. No one's going to speculate by the power of their mind and intellect and understand transcendental realm. No one's going to understand the absolute truth unless the absolute truth himself comes and explains it to you. And here he is explaining it to you, and nobody's interested. Oh well, they have no interest. They have no desire, no liking, because jaundice condition, they're in a disease condition. They have no liking for it. I remember my Gurudev used to say, "This is so sweet. Are you tasting?" And he used to go around, "Are you tasting? You're tasting it? Can you taste it?" And we're all like, "No." "Are you tasting? So sweet?" So what is it that we're not tasting as so sweet? Because we're in disease consciousness. We're in a jaundice condition. We're poisoned by materialism. We're up to here with materialism, with sinful desires, sinful attachments, sinful reactions, like Himalayan mountains. Gurudev used to say, there's not some pollution, contamination, like some dust. We say like a dust on the mirror. This is thick layer, like Himalayan mountains, Baba. So I'm chanting. I don't know why this. What kind of dust is this? Right, Chaitanya, we get some dust on the mirror. Get a feather duster. Get rid of the dust. Then you come to soul platform. You're burning holes in your fingers chanting. Maybe not now because you're advanced devotees. Why is the dust not going? What kind of dust is this? And Gurudev said, thick layer, like Himalayan mountains. What is the thick layer? Sinful reactions. That sinful reactions is ignorance. Ignorance is sinful reaction. Ignorance is the root cause of our suffering condition. We're suffering because of ignorance, and we're so ignorant we don't realize we're suffering. We're fine. I'm managing. I feel pretty good. So we don't realize the problem. We don't understand the full extent of the disease. So who cares if there's a great doctor with a great medicine? If you don't think you're sick, you don't think you've got a problem, you don't need a guru. You don't need any medicine. You don't need any treatment program. So they think themselves just fine. Isn't it? That's fun. So you have to speak what you need to hear, and you need to speak that which those souls who could be attracted to that topics, and that's your class. I remember Srila Govinda Swami, he was not compromising anything. He was speaking absolute tattva vichar. Nothing mixed, nothing compromised, nothing watered down. Really, as it is, just like Prabhupada, as it is. And Gurudev said, although we're coming, Mahaprabhu, devotee coming to give Krishna Prema, they're trying to give us Krishna Prema. But Gurudev said that how many people are interested in Krishna Prema? Hardly anybody. Prabhupada says hardly anybody is really that serious about going back home, back to Godhead. Because they're attached materially. So they're not serious. And then to become serious, Means we have to get purified from false ego, all of this ignorance, all of this covering, all of this sinful reaction. We need cutting, chopping, burning, purifying. We need a whole crew working 24/7, 365. But we can't tolerate it. And Gurudev would say they're not taking it because they think Gurudev is too heavy. It's too much heavy information. It's too much punishing, too much putting under discipline. So they cannot tolerate it. So what it would take for us to become qualified in order to develop Krishna Prema, our unfortunate sinful natures are not allowing us to take it, to cooperate with it, the process. Because we want to feel good, we don't like divine austerities, we have no patience, no tolerance, we don't want to feel uncomfortable, we want easygoing life. So mind, senses, just rejecting it. It said sadhu, guru, the words, what he's speaking is very unpalatable. For conditioned soul who wants to enjoy, these type of classes are very unpalatable. It's bitter. Nobody wants the bad news. Because everyone's been disappointed, oh, my plan's not going to work. My material desires and plans and attachments we had with our family. Now, this type of preaching means the thing is not going to work. It's going to end in a disaster. Who wants to hear that their plan's going to end in a disaster? Who wants to hear that? It's in Maya, you're in Maya, you're making the plan for Maya with people who are part of Maya, for Maya. What are you going to end up with? Maya. The whole thing, Maya plus Maya equals Maya, times 2, or 4, or 10, or 100, or tenfold. How's that ever going to work? So nobody wants to hear the preaching which proves that what you're thinking and what you're desiring and what you're planning will not work and will be the cause of your future suffering condition. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to believe that it's going to work. They want to have confidence and faith that it's going to work. It makes sense. It's logical. It's practical. Every part of my being is telling me it's going to work. I feel it in my heart. And I talk to my wife and my husband and my mother and my father. Everybody feels positive about it. Everybody, it's all positive vibrations. As if that means anything. So, unfortunately, this world is like that, where people are enamored, especially by this technology. They think everything's going to be solved. Money, 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 brighter than the sunshine, sweeter than the honey. What to do? Prabhupada said, don't be surprised that people come and then they go away. Be surprised who comes and stays. That's a surprise. If you present as it is, no compromise, strict, no watering it down, absolute, it's very narrow. Who is that serious? Who will like the truth? Who is seeking the truth? These people are very rare. This teaching is meant for those people. So if you don't present that because you're trying to pacify the masses, then you're not actually speaking that which will attract the people that you actually, who it's meant for. So when Gurudev would speak, hundreds, thousands of people, there'd be like 1, 2 people. They just completely surrender when they hear it. It's meant for those people. It's being offered to everybody. Everyone's getting some benefit. But who can hear it? By Krishna's mercy, by Gurudev's mercy, this is meant for them. Because this is the world of cheaters and the cheated. So why surprise? In the prison house, in the world of the cheaters and the cheated, who's looking for absolute truth? How many people? Very few. But because there's just a very few, it doesn't mean that you water the whole thing down. That's why Prabhupada said, don't change my words. Don't add or subtract anything. Just present it as it is. And who's supposed to hear that? That's who this is meant for. Everyone else will get some benefit, more or less. But until they're ready to surrender to Krishna, because Krishna persuaded them by his canvassing, that takes time. Make sense? Anybody else? So thank you for trying to help them. That's very, very nice of you. That's the devotee thing to do. You want to distinguish yourself from ordinary materialistic people, but they're not coming to you looking for a guru. They're coming looking for money, position, opportunity. What you do? Give them prasadam. Sometimes let them hear some holy name, krishna-katha. Can't force it on them. And then don't be sentimental that if somebody who coming, that they're spiritual, they're just, they know you're a little sentimental. But they're also cheating. Because they're motivated. Any last thing while I still have you? Yeah.
So,
if you look at it from an absolute point of view, this is actually very simple, straightforward. But because we're so complicated and we're not simple, then everything's becoming too complicated because of the stupid mind. That's the problem. If you're very simple and very a pious, simple-hearted person, and you hear this knowledge, you immediately accept it. That's why Prabhupada said, try to find, even they don't know anything, just try to find simple-hearted, innocent, like good soul, and just present it as it is. Don't water it down, don't compromise it. The truth will convince them. They were going to scholars and they're going to these big people, and the devotees were like watering it down and compromising it, and they were listening to criticism against Prabhupada, against the translation, right? And now they're challenging their own spiritual master. They're saying this is not done properly. criticizing. And Prabhupada said, just go try to find some innocent, simple-hearted, good person. Present the truth to them. It's meant for them. The Bhagavatam, that verse is saying that this is meant for those who are not envious people. So if we're challenging God, we're competing with God, that means you're envious of God. So you cannot be envious and challenging God and know God at the same time. So Krishna says that you try to come with some other mood besides bhakti, I'll hide myself from you. You're coming with some other desires besides bhakti, I'll hide myself from you. And if Krishna is hiding himself, then all you have is your speculation and sentimentality and all of your faulty information and processes. You'll be lost. Everything will seem so complicated. But for devotee, simple-hearted person, it's very simple because Krishna is helping them. Krishna is giving intelligence and faith and understanding because of this desire for bhakti. So nothing. Huh? Really? There you go. We're overthinking it. Krishna says, if you want to surrender to me and assume your position as servant, you want to cooperate, and you want to surrender and serve me, I'll give you intelligence and faith how to know me more and more, and then how to do it. So really, it's a question of sincerity and seriousness, whether we want to surrender to Krishna or not. And without sincerity and seriousness, then what question, what answer can you ask or hear? How will you come to any proper understanding? You won't hear it, you won't understand it, you can't apply it, it doesn't seem practical or logical. We'll just misunderstand. Because of this materialistic mindsets. Krishna says that you don't want to surrender to me, then Maya will control. The sitting place of Maya is your intellect, your mind, and your senses. So everything you're thinking, everything you're calculating, everything you're feeling, your emotions, your desires, it's all coming from Maya. And we're thinking, no, that's me. I'm thinking like that. I'm desiring like that. I'm feeling like that. No, Maya is making you think and feel and desire like that. All the soul can do is desire. And if somehow you desire to want to surrender to Krishna and become Das, servant, then Krishna will control your intelligence, mind, and senses for you. There's nothing, we're not controlling intelligence, mind, and senses. We can only desire. If we properly use our mind with independence, we desire to cooperate and surrender to Krishna, Krishna will take charge of our intelligence, mind, and senses and give us opportunity for devotional service. If we want to misuse our mind with independence and maintain the separatist desire, then we're handed over to Maya, and Maya controls intelligence, mind, and senses and gives you a feel for your sinful activities. So all intelligence and strength will be either Krishna directly or through Maya indirectly. And the only thing a soul can do is just to desire properly or not. My mind, my intellect, my senses, my idea, my plan, my feelings, my emotions. That means we're identifying, misidentifying with the body and the mind and the senses and saying that is me. I am that. That's illusion. That's the illusion, but that's not the reality. The reality is a soul can desire either to serve Krishna or not. If you agree by this canvassing to surrender and serve Krishna, Krishna will take charge of you, to purify and control your intelligence, mind, and senses, and engage you in a field of activities based on devotional service. If you desire not to surrender, then Maya will step in and sit and take control of your intelligence, your mind, your senses, your feelings, your emotions, your plans. Everything will be calculated and controlled, and the opportunity will be there for your sinful activities, so you can try to enjoy separate from Krishna, and then you're dragged, you're forced. So who's controlling intelligence, mind, and senses? Is it Krishna towards devotional service, or is it Maya towards Mayic or sinful activities? That's the only thing that's different, based on desire. So what are we thinking that we're doing? Well, I was feeling very strongly about this thing. You, the soul? That's the illusion. And everyone's bewildered by that, because intelligence is covered over. They're not privy to understand what is what. All they know is body and mind. I'm thinking like this, I'm feeling like this. My mind, my emotions, my senses, my desire, my plan, I, me, and mine. But is that really the soul doing that? Or is that the illusion that the soul of the self is doing that? That's the question. Does that help at all? And then how many percentage of our whole life, of everything that we've heard, of everything that we're hearing, how much are we hearing this type of presentation? Hardly ever. We're supposed to be hearing this type of presentation every day. All day, every day. Otherwise, how do you counter the programming? How do you counter the brainwashing or the conditioning or the paradigm creation by Maya? How do you counter that? By just a temporary theoretical intellectual thought? That's enough? Oh, I had a moment. I had a moment of clarity to temporarily, theoretically speculate something which was extraordinary. And we're calling that spiritual. That was spiritual. So we're not hearing properly and sufficiently. And preachers, they're afraid to present the truth. Because what if they don't like it? And then they won't come. they'll feel like this unpalatable, this is disturbing. So then they want people to like them, to worship them, to serve them, to give them some money, some respect, some honor. So they water it down. So they're trying to, pacify. Prabhupada calls it the dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. So you're looking for likes from the dogs, hogs, camels, and asses consciousness people. Because you're materially motivated. So because they want something, they're watering it down, they're compromising it. They're trying to make it easy so that they can exploit the masses. I had some of my godbrothers are saying, Maharaj, you're giving nice, strong class, but only problem is that you have to learn Indian politics. Because if you could just learn Indian politics, your preaching would be much more effective. Because how you're preaching, it's too straightforward. And it's like bitter. One of my godbrothers said, Maharaj, listening to you, you're nice, I like you, but it's so tedious. It's so like exacting that I can't put my brain into that for like long time. My brain doesn't have any patience for it. And the my Gurudev, he's just speaking this for hours and hours and hours, and whoever likes it, whoever stays, whoever feels benefited, it's for them. And other people, they're getting up, they're leaving, they're going. I said, hey, where are you going? He said, oh, I have to go get married. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. He's in the Bhagavatam class. One boy was there, he's listening very nicely. Then he's getting up and leaving. I said, hey, where are you going? You're my inspiration. He said, Maharaj, I have to go get married right now. I said, who gets married at like 8 o'clock in the morning? Like last minute, like you just remembered, oh my God, I gotta go get married. I almost forgot that. So the mind senses doesn't want to hear it. That's the problem. Doesn't like it. They don't have a taste for it. It's a little bitter. In India, right, the bitter medicine is the best medicine, right? I had one disease and really bad, and they said, oh, you have to take this Indian Ayurvedic medicine. But Maharaj is really very bitter. I don't know if you can digest it. I said, my problem is such that I'm ready to digest anything. So that's another example. When you're fed up and nothing else is working, you'll take the most bitter medicine. If you can solve my problem, I'm ready to sign up. And then in the beginning, it's like a little painful, little bitter, pinching. Divine austerity mode of goodness means in the beginning it's a little difficult. It's purifying, it's burning, it's cutting, it's unpalatable, it's too exacting, so it doesn't feel so great. Sometimes people come to the class and they leave. They say, "Well, Maharaj's class is so disturbing." I left, I was like shaking, I was like disturbed. So like, how is that spiritual? So that statement shows their misunderstanding. They have a preconceived notion of what is spiritual. So they're just imagining all the spiritual benefits and calling that spiritual, but the process to get there, to realize that, they're thinking that can't be spiritual. Because it was unpalatable, it was bitter, it was a little painful, it was very challenging. One time one devotee said to one of the other gurus, who said, "Murali, his preaching, he was very like convincing, but it was very jolting. It was like a jolting me." And Maharaj says, "Good. You need to be jolted. Because we're sitting complacent, feeling ourselves all right, very callous. We need the jolt, isn't it? We need something that's going to like move us off of our platform that we're presently stuck on. And it's not going to come by the guru like flattering you. Oh, you're so nice, and just love Krishna, and whatever you do, just do it with bhakti. Come on." So everyone has to be like, what is that saying? Like too much sweetness. What is it? Like too much devotion.
Sign of a thief.
It's a sign of the thief. Too sweet.
Oh.
Come on. Get real, Maharaj. Get real. But the sentimentalist, that was so spiritual. I could feel it. It was emotionally moving. So Buddha said that people don't really want like a real guru. They don't want like too heavy, demanding, expecting, challenging, confronting, chastising. Siddho doesn't like that. So there's all these other gurus are required then. So mostly everybody's cheating. So there needs to be a lot of cheating gurus. If most people are cheating, there needs to be more cheating gurus. Cheated, cheaters, cheated, isn't it? And the other gurus, they can't tolerate this type of thing. Are you calling us cheaters? And we just say, Maharaj, just do the math. Do the math. You come to your own conclusion. Any other question or point? Everybody's good? Yes, Misha. How are our Russian devotees doing back there today? Are you feeling the love? Russians just want to be filled with some love and affection. Everybody wants some love and affection. They want to feel appreciated. That's natural. That's natural. So, Misha, tell me.
So Misha's question is, if you want to keep yourself humble, you have to compare
You have
yourself.
to become humble, first of all. Then talk about keeping it humble. First get it, then worry about keeping it. Does that make sense? How do I protect all the money? You don't have any money. Should I get a safe? Should I put it in the bank? First, get the money. So, what are we talking about? Protecting humility.
So if you will compare yourself with the standard, then
So, you're protecting your theoretical humility. You're protecting the illusion that you're humble. And hoping one day it turns into the real thing. So
Shuladav was explaining, if you will compare yourself, measure yourself against the standard, what is expected from us, it will keep you like in humble position.
but what if you already think you're up to the standard? And they'd be like, I just checked, and yeah, I'm humble. Gotta protect that. So you have to make sure that the first calculation is correct. First, you have to get the first measurement. You have to make sure the measurement is accurate. So if we have false ego, we have pride, some conceited nature, we're thinking that we're something, somebody, we have a high impression of ourselves. We're legends in our own mind. My father, someone gave him a funny hat and said, I'm a legend in my own mind. And he used to wear this hat. So are we the one to measure that? If we say, well, I measured and it looks like I'm pretty close to the standard, and you may not be lying, you may believe that, according to your measurement, according to your estimation, yeah, I think I'm surrendered, I think I'm a good person, I think I'm coming up to that standard. Now, whether it's true or not is another thing. So the spiritual master has a really thankless task to bring us what is the reality of the situation. That's why it doesn't help that the guru is flattering you and keeping up your self-esteem. Because it means you're keeping up your illusion, your ignorance, you're cheating. What did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur say? That the guru who's flattering you, he's cheating you. He's not really your good friend. And the guru who takes a risk to approach you in your false ego and speaks the truth to you, even if it's a little pinching, a little unpalatable, that guru is actually your friend. So if you get cheating guru, then the cheating guru said, you're fine. You're doing wonderful. If you get the real guru, That guru can tell you exactly. First of all, he'll help you understand the standard, the actual standard, not your perception of the standard, not your theoretical understanding of that standard, but the actual standard. And then he'll purify us, our consciousness, intelligence, enough to humble us against that standard. So spiritual master, he is cutting. Sadhu means cutting. His words are cutting. He's finding your fault. He's trying to humble you. He's trying to correct you, discipline you, control you, force you to surrender to Krishna. And now are we cooperating with that? Are we fighting against that? Are we grumbling, complaining against that? Then you cannot get out of false ego platform. If we don't grumble and complain, and we understand, oh, this person is being honest with me, and he's sincerely trying to help me, then if you see it in the right way, you don't misunderstand it, and you're not grumbling and complaining, then you'll get the benefit of that association, benefit of that hearing. And it will purify your consciousness, and it will humble you automatically. Then when you're purified, more humble, submissive mood and consciousness, then you can better measure and understand ourselves up against the standard of what is perfection, what is pure Vaishnava. That's the standard, that's the goal, that's the perfectional stage. Because when we analyze in false ego platform, we don't see the subtleties. We're very gross. So a lot of these anarthas, a lot of these things are so subtle. It's so subtle we cannot even perceive it. That's why we honestly think I'm all right. But as we get purified, as we're getting humbled out, as our spiritual intelligence, mind, senses becoming spiritualized, then we're able to understand more of the subtle nature of spiritual life, spiritual consciousness. Our vision will change as our consciousness changes. So we'll be able to see and understand in a much deeper way than what we could see or understand previously. It doesn't mean that it wasn't there. It just we couldn't perceive it. We couldn't see it. So the spiritual master is trying to purify us, qualify us to come to understand what is the reality of our condition. I remember in Bhubaneswar, Srila Govinda Maharaj was speaking a lot about adhikar, about qualification. What is your actual qualification? At first I was like, well, I didn't understand why he was like really pressing on this point. And then gradually I came to understand that we're overestimating our qualification because of the pride, because of blindness. We think we can see, we think we can measure, we think we can know. So our measuring is inaccurate. And it's not, other thing is we don't have a measuring instrument. So if we don't have any standard of measurement, and you don't have a measuring instrument, then how exactly are you measuring? You don't understand the standard, you don't understand what you're measuring, and you don't have measuring instruments, then what exactly are you calculating? And what is the, what is the conclusion of that? So Krishna knows you're spiritually deaf, dumb, and blind. But because you're trying to be sincere, he sent a spiritual master, and the spiritual master is trying to purify and cut and humble and try to dismantle the false ego platform to bring us down to humble, pure consciousness platform. Krishna says in terms of knowledge, cultivation of knowledge, that utter humility is the base foundation of transcendental knowledge. So you could say, like, without getting freed from tamagun, rajagun, material modes of nature, you cannot come to the soul platform. And then without utter humility on the soul platform, that's the basic standard of starting of transcendental spiritual knowledge. So everything we're estimating under modes of material nature, all of it is faulty, incomplete, and so none of it is actually spiritual from like an absolute point of view. But in our mind, we're thinking we've analyzed this thing and understood spiritually. Right, Sanathan? And we believe that. Absolutely. And then the Guru, Krishna, and the spiritual master and the Shastra will say whether it's right or not. That's the standard. That's what you're measuring against. If you don't understand Tattva Vichar, or absolute consideration, that's the measuring instrument. If everything that you understand is relative, and you're measuring other thing that's relative, you're not getting anywhere. It's all faulty, it's all incomplete, it's all relative. So you need something outside of three-dimensional realm, which is absolute perfect standard and measuring instrument, to then go back into three-dimensional realm and measure with that instrument. If everything you have is faulty and three-dimensional, what are you measuring with? What conclusion are you coming to? How accurate is your final understanding? Does it make sense? So we have to trust intelligence that's outside of ourselves. We cannot trust our mind, our intellect, our sense perception. We cannot trust our assumptions, our feelings, our emotions, our speculation, our calculations. All of it is faulty, incomplete. So that means we actually have to trust outside of ourselves. So when you try to understand something, instead of going to your intellect, your mind, your senses, your experience, you just immediately go to Krishna. Right? It's like when you're trying to understand something and you by your intelligence, you can't quickly understand it, and then you go for AI. How do I understand? Right? So you immediately know that compared to AI, our intelligence is a joke. You can't even compare it. So why even bother? Yes. Right? Why even bother? So now this is just three-dimensional information. So now if you want to understand about fourth-dimensional information, you can't go to a three-dimensional machine and ask about fourth-dimensional knowledge. So the AI, it has no access into fourth-dimensional consciousness platform. So you have to get intelligence, not from a machine, but from the source of all intelligence and faith and intelligence, which is Krishna. So Krishna is the source of all knowledge and intelligence. He's the one who's giving everyone in the material world all of their intelligence to create this machine and that machine and this system and this understanding. All that intelligence ultimately is coming from Krishna. They're claiming it like it's their intelligence. But a super soul, Paramatma, is the source of the intelligence. So when you're talking about a fourth dimensional transcendental subject matter, what are you going to figure out? You've never been there before. You have no experience of what it is or what it means. You have no capacity with your three-dimensional intelligence, mind, and senses to understand it. So what exactly are you going to understand? So instead of going to a faulty, incomplete material intelligence or sense perception, you just immediately go to Krishna as Super Soul Paramatma in the heart. And you just say, Krishna, how do I understand that? Please help me. And Krishna will help you. But we're not going to Krishna. We're going to our mind, our feelings, our intellect, our thought, our experiences, all on false ego plane. And that's why there's so much misunderstanding. Does that make any sense? This subject matter is transcendental to three dimensions. If you're in bodily concept of life, under modes of material nature, tamagun, rajagun, afflicted by threefold miseries, the material consciousness, perfected material consciousness, what are you going to measure? What are you measuring exactly? What do you think that you can measure up against the standard? Do you even understand the standard? Are we just assuming that we've understood the standard? Isn't the standard transcendental? If we're under modes of nature and material consciousness, do we really understand the standard? Do we even know what that means? Do we even understand how to use it as an instrument, a measuring instrument, to measure within three-dimensional phenomena? We have no idea. But how we're just assuming that we know all of these things, or that we have the ability to understand all of that. So, Amisha, I'm not picking on you. I'm just kind of using it as a springboard to get into that subject matter. That, what is our measurement? So if the whole measuring process is theoretical, misunderstood, faulty, incomplete, how you're going to use that measurement or that conclusion to really make any significant adjustment in your understanding? How will that really move your perception and understanding of those topics? So it sounds very theoretical, okay? I'm just analyzing myself, I'm measuring myself up against the standard, and therefore I'm humbled by that. So it can be very theoretical. So I'm just trying to go like a little deeper than that kind of analysis. Because if you're thinking that analysis is sincere and accurate and can move you in any direction, maybe that's also not accurate. Maybe that's also not absolute. So we can speak in theoretical terms. We can just say, let's just assume theoretically that we all understand these things. that cannot really get you so far. It can't get you out of three-dimensional thinking. Make sense? Misha, is that helping you? Am I helping you with your measuring rod? That's why you see Sanatana Goswami, he's saying, everybody's saying I'm very intelligent, I'm a pundit. But really, and even I was thinking that I was intelligent. But now by your mercy, I came to realize I don't even know what to ask you. I don't even understand my actual situation. So if you don't understand your actual situation, you don't even know what to ask. So he's taking in such a position that, you just tell me everything that by your mercy that I need to know. Just kindly, please tell me. Give me all the information, because I don't know what to ask. I don't know what is my position. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I'm just asking, kindly just tell me everything. And Krishna says to Arjuna, because you're my devotee and you're my friend and you are not envious of me, you're depending on me, then I'll tell you everything. Everything of the material world and everything of the spiritual world. But we're not depending on Krishna. We're depending on ourselves to analyze Krishna consciousness without asking Krishna, without understanding from Krishna. Like we're just assuming, like, okay, we read some books, we know something about Krishna consciousness, therefore we'll come to our own conclusion. How much have we read? How much have we studied? How much have we realized? How accurate, how complete is that? We're assuming a lot, too much. So we just have to listen and be open to hear. Because Krishna, he already knows what we need to hear. Sometimes people asking questions, and Krishna's like, the answer to that question is not what you really need to hear. You actually need to hear something else. So sometimes people asking the spiritual master a question, and Krishna's making the spiritual master speak something else. And then the devotee getting uptight because he's saying, why Maharaj is not answering my question? And so Krishna is actually answering the question you should be asking, which is most important and relevant to you. So you don't even know what to ask. But Krishna knows what you should be asking, and he knows what you need to hear as an answer. So Krishna will just answer what you need to hear of the question you don't even know to ask. That's how kind Krishna really is. It's like the father answering the question from the kid. So it's like some simple question, but the father knows, okay, I can use that to bring them into a bigger discussion. So I'll just use that as a springboard. Answer the question directly and indirectly, or come back to the original question, but he'll just use it as opportunity to think that this is really what this child, this student needs to hear right now in their life according to their condition and situation, this will be best for them. That's why when I asked what are we supposed to speak about, and Amba said, you just pray to Krishna and let Krishna speak what we all need to hear. That's why I'm very hesitant to try to say, okay, this is the lesson I'm going to impart to the students today. I almost don't even want to come with any preconceived notion about what everybody's supposed to hear. That's why it really looks like, it may look like to some like Maharaj doesn't know what to say. Looks like he needs some help. Maybe he didn't really study today. He's just passing it off onto us. But how do you know? Maybe I'm saying, let's see if Krishna makes anyone immediately say some topic. Because then I'll take it that Krishna wants us to talk on that topic. And if nothing immediately comes like that, then Krishna, please help us to everything that we've been discussing and talking about. How can we make this a conversation and make it practical and make it consistent with Guru Sadhana and Shastra? How do we tie it all together? That's what we're trying to do. How do you tie all of these things together? Right? Thousands-year-old philosophy with the present reality, with the day-to-day practical way that you can practice Krishna consciousness in this world. To me, that's more useful. All the other details you can figure out gradually. If you need more details, you go this way, all the details will come to you. Whatever you need to know, Krishna will help you. So as soon as I hear something, I'll be like, oh, I never heard that before. I never read it, never heard it, never considered it. So now how do you judge it? How do you measure it? So then Krishna, please help me. How do I understand this thing? How do I reconcile this thing with all of these other different thoughts and ideas and conceptions and misconceptions? How do I balance it? How do I reconcile it? How is it fit? How is it practical? How can you use it in building your faith and your experience on a day-to-day basis? That's, I hope, what we're trying to achieve here. And I'm just freely talking. See, I'm not a scholar. So I'm not even pretending to try to be a scholar. That would be a joke. So I'm just using whatever I have to be as real as possible and practical as possible, because I had to do it just in the simplest way possible. And then we're trying to get the absolute truth translated into other languages. This has to be as simple as possible. All the other little nuances and details, gradually we can figure that out by no shape, form, Krishna. So Misha, where are we with that question? I gave you a long-winded expose on measuring three-dimensionally, theoretically. So let's just say we're theoretically measuring against the standard that we theoretically understand. And we came up with a theoretical understanding that you should be humble. Somehow, you should be humbled by that. So then what happens? Misha, where do we go from there? Where's the shloka, man? We're waiting for the shloka. So how is his measurements going?
I want to become humble because it's like really nice when you humble.
That's good. That's a good realization. Smarter. The more humble position, the more safer position. And what does it say? That saying is like pride comes before the fall. So if we're too proud, too arrogant, too conceited, we're going to get humbled out. So, we can try to humble ourselves by finding our faults, realizing we're not really Das disciple properly. We can just constantly try to humble ourselves. Oh, we're going to get humbled out. So you can just wait to get humbled out, or you can just work on it daily, moment to moment. But we're going to get humbled out. It's just whether we're going to cooperate with the process or whether we're going to just build it up to such a degree that we just get smashed down because we can't listen because of the arrogance, the pride. This pride, Gurudev used to say, this pride is a great obstacle in the spiritual life. The pride makes you blind. You cannot see properly. You cannot understand properly. You cannot hear properly. Because everything being filtered through false ego. And as it's being filtered through the false ego and so much misconception is there, we're perceiving that, oh, I already know that. Yeah, I already knew that. So that's why it's very dangerous, because we're getting faulty information, faulty reading, faulty conclusion, and we don't even know it. Then we have to learn the hard way. So any last thing before we go? I don't want to take too much of your time. Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
I won't.
Sir, by your mercy, we have able to do prasadam distribution related services. Me and Pitambarpur and many more devotees.
We have what?
Prasadam distribution services.
Yeah.
Sir, my request to please guide us. What are the main things we should keep in our heart while doing prasadam distributions, productions, services on daily basis, so that we can do very well for the Guru Krishna Samsara.
It doesn't matter what is your service. It's what does Krishna want you to do, what service is given to you. We know through the instruction of our spiritual master. So whatever those instructions are, they came from Krishna to the Guru. Then take it up seriously and try to do it in a pleasing way. Prabhupada somehow or other tried to satisfy the spiritual master by the quality, the quantity, of your service and the mood that you're doing that service in, humble state of mind, humble servant, humble disciple, doing for pleasure of Guru Krishna. This most important point. It doesn't matter what is the service. The science is exactly the same. So there's no special, no special formula for one particular service or the other. Just the expertise, the experience, the knowledge that we get while we're executing these different services, that can be learned, cultivated. But there's a lot of materialistic people that are very expert. And so that's not so important. It says, if you do some job, some service for 20 years, 20, 30 years, you're going to more or less become expert at that. So that's not so important. The most important thing is, what is our consciousness and who are we doing it for? So if we remember that we're disciple, we're servant of Krishna, servant of Guru Krishna, and we're doing that service to please them. So that's our actual motivation based on that consciousness. This is the most important thing. The technicalities of what you can learn and cultivate within every individual service is really secondary. And if you're sincere, then Krishna devotees will help you, what works, what doesn't work, what you can do better, what thing you can learn, how to do that service in a more efficient, effective way. That can be cultivated. But the most important thing is, what is the spiritual side of it? And the spiritual side is consciousness. Who are you? Who are we? If you say, I'm eternal servant of Guru and Krishna, I'm serving in Guru and Krishna Samsara in that mission, that preaching mission. So my service is directly connected to serving in that samsara for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. That's the most important thing. Whether it's this service or that service, it doesn't really matter, because it's all related to the preaching mission. And certainly prasadam is a big part of that. We talked about that last night, and book distribution also. And so whatever your service is, try to do it in the best way possible. Humble state of mind, try to learn how to do it, in an expert way, whatever that service is. If you're cleaning pots, try to figure out how to clean pots like perfectly, like most efficiently, effectively. So it doesn't matter externally what is the service. The most important part is internal. Spiritual life is internal. So if consciousness and motivation is not correct, then all the rest of it is zero. It's useless. So this part we have to remember more than anything else. Technicalities, where you can do more according to the knowledge or experience required for that particular service, that can be learned, cultivated, practiced. What works, what doesn't work, what sells, what doesn't sell. That's really not so important. You understand? How about our other Russian friends back there? They came back again. Hmm? Everything's good? Yeah. All right. He looks happy. He came back again. That's a good sign. Any other thing? Hmm? Yes. Which Mataji? Yes, Mataji. Where's the Shiksha Guru translator? So now you got to give her some credit, right? She's translating. You don't want to translate for the Matajis, right? You already understand that, right? She's the expert Mataji translator. Are you feeling better? You look a little tired today. Is Maya attacking you? Just your body's attacking you? Your mind's attacking you? A little bit? What is it?
Less sleep.
Not enough sleep? You'll sleep like a baby tonight. Don't worry. Take nice prasad, sleep like a baby. Alright? Get ready to go to a song. Don't let Maya cheat you. If your mind's disturbed, you won't sleep nicely. Your mind will be running. And you won't sleep peacefully. Right?
Hare Krishna, Shri Gurudev. Mataji wants to know that how can she perform this Ekadashi Vrat nicely? Like how devotees perform this Ekadashi.
Eat just Ekadashi Prasadam. That's the best thing. Usually they do half a day, like midday prasad. So midday, simple, nice prasad on Ekadashi. Is that what you're doing?
She is saying she is eating fruits.
She's what?
Fruits.
Fruits? She wants to just eat fruits on Ekadashi? That's fine. Can you fast on Ekadashi? Do you have to eat fruits? Do you have to eat something, anything on Ekadashi? Or is that too much? Is that too difficult? Because if she's already doing fruits, then why do anything? So we're going from not just regular Ekadashi Prasad to fruits. She's already on fruits. So?
Mataji is saying, no, I'm eating some milk products and some sago also, like I'm eating.
Some leaf?
No, some milk
Milk.
and sago uses this sabudana we use some making something.
Are you happy with your Ekadashi Prasad program? Are you already worried that Ekadashi is coming and what will you eat? Then we have like a few more days. She's already worried about the impending Ekadashi situation. Right, I think it's on the 3rd, right, Ekadashi? Now it's 27? So we're like almost a week away. You're already worried about Ekadashi? So milk products and fruit, right?
Like now Mataji is saying, the real question is like where they live, the people, they are creating lots of problems, like
The
too
what?
much enviousness
What's
Where she lives, the people, they're creating too much problems, enviousness.
oh? Maybe they can go on a Kadashi fast. That will purify them. So it looks like you're living in the hood. You're living in not in a good section of town, huh? Not a good section of the village. So materialist people, they are terrorists. They're being terrorized by their own mind and senses. And so they're disturbed. And they'll be disturbing. Then they'll terrorize you. Maybe the fruits and milk is not enough ammunition to fight against the terrorists. Maybe you need more energy to tolerate the onslaught of the asatanga. If the fruits and milk is not, you not feel strong enough to tolerate them on a Kadashi?
She's saying that like this fruits milk sufficient, but the problem is like the people, they are creating problems.
The who?
The food is sufficient, milk and fruit, but it's these people, they're creating problems.
But that's part of their Kadashi. That's your divine austerity. So you have to tolerate and see what is material life, what is material consciousness, what is Adi Bodhika, what is pain, aggravation, disturbance from materialistic people, how much that hurts. See it for what it is. Then pray for power of tolerance. Maybe you can get out of the village on a Kadashi. Maybe you can escape the village on a Kadashi and go to the woods, go to the forest, go to the temple, and go to sadhu sangha, satsanga. Then you can tolerate all of this asat sangha. All right? What does a Kadashi have to do with tolerating asat sangha? What is that combination? Does it mean that it's disturbing on a Kadashi? And because she's not eating a lot, it's like a little difficult to tolerate. What's the significance between a Kadashi and tolerating asat sangha? All right, is that clear now? Have we solved that? Okay, anybody else? Last thing? Everybody's good? Looks like everybody's tired. He's tired.
There's chow mein and samosas for dinner prasadam.
Chow mein?
Chow mein, noodles, and the samosas.
Sounds like breakhead consciousness. If you can hear krishna-katha through the noodles and the samosas and the sweets, then you're like practically like a saint. That means nothing can stop you from hearing. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Shishya Gwanita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Govinda Swami, Srila Gurudev ki, Samadeva Bhaktivinoda ki. Gaura Kamalande. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Is that helpful? Yes. Make sure my knees are working. Fish. All right, that was good. Everyone feels good. Positive. Feeling good. Very happy.
किसान छोड़ी है
That's for everybody.
Конечно, всем.
My legs are not moving so good. How you doing? Are you in charge? Are you the finance minister in India yet? You have to become much more corrupt. You're not corrupt enough to be the financial minister. They'll be like, this guy's too honest, man. We can't make any money. You will be a good politician.